Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the real estate panel as part of Finance Day here at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And we have some great panelists today. I hope you appreciate them taking their time out of their busy schedule to come. And they are all University of Wisconsin-Whitewater grads. And so first of all, I'll start at the far end. Brian Lawton, he's actually the CEO of Exit Realty. And then we have Christian Braverman, and this is bad, because all my students come through, and I think it's only been a year or so, and then lo and behold, he's been out going on 3 years now. And so he's in property management at Colliers International, and Adam Connor, Senior Vice President at Colliers International in their Investment Services Division. And then online here, we have Jason Meyers, and he's an entrepreneur in real estate and building his own self-storage, I'll say, empire. We're getting there, right, Jason? And I wanted you to hear his journey, and I thought it was important for everybody to kind of hear kind of how he's come about and where he's at as well. So, thank you to everybody for coming and taking your time out. So, first of all, let's start and just tell me a little bit about what you do and what your job is and function and so forth. I know I gave a title, but that could mean really anything. So, Brian?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Brian Lawton, and as Tim said, I have a title that he talked to me about, but I am a Whitewater grad. The third time I went through, I finally became a graduate from UW-Whitewater. Some of you might be on the same path, but I'm a dad of 3. I'm an entrepreneur, and I run 2 companies in the real estate space. One is an agency, and our footprint is Beloit, Janesville, and Madison. Those are our physical offices, but we do business pretty much all over Wisconsin. And then we have a property management company where we manage residential property for primarily out-of-state investors, bringing their capital to southern Wisconsin.
Christian?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so it's only been 3 years since I was a student here, and it's still surreal sitting here on this side of the camera. But so yes, I do property management, commercial property management for Colliers. I sit at the 411 building downtown. Is anyone familiar with Milwaukee? Okay, anyone know where the Pfister building is? So I'm right across the street from the Pfister building, so I help manage that office tower. We are the second largest office tower in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, sitting at 700,000 square feet. And I like to add the 2 parking garages part. So I've been with Colliers since February of 2020. So right before COVID hit, I had 2 weeks of what I like to call real in-office experience. It was awesome. It was fun. And then COVID hit, and everything threw us for a loop. But it's really been a great ride. I've learned a lot. So what I do on the team at 411, so I'm the property administrator. So it's like a little over entry level, but basically I assist with different tenant requests. Whether a lawyer has a deposition coming, but for some reason the AC is just blowing at 50 degrees. We want to get that fixed for them. I fill out contracts on a daily basis, whether that's the contractors who redo our entire facade and our property, which can be a very expensive project, or something small like putting in a doorbell. Sending rent statements out to the tenants, communicating with the tenants, accounting contacts. My job description is 2.5 pages. So there's many things that I could be doing on a given month, I like to say. So thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
My name is Adam Connor. I work for Colliers as well, but we're on different teams. We're actually in the same building, but I head up our investment services team at Colliers. There's a number of different divisions. We focus solely on retail properties throughout Wisconsin. So we typically help private owners all the way up to institutional owners sell their retail properties, whether it's a Starbucks, a single tenant Starbucks, a large shopping center, or like a large Whole Foods. So we put those on the market and we sell those to hopefully private investors nationwide for very high prices. So we'll see how that market goes in the next 6 to 9 months. But I have a team of 4 people, and then we have a marketing department and a research department that helps us. And I've been doing this for 16, 17 years. I'm a 05 grad.
Jason, how about you?
Sure. Hey everyone, Jason Meyers. I am a December 2017 grad from Whitewater. I'm actually based in Dallas, Texas. Otherwise, I would be there in person, so I'm virtual. My story is a little different. Real estate is actually not my full-time job. My full-time job, I'm in sales for a software company, and real estate is, I guess, a part-time or another full-time job I do. So I buy and hold investment properties. I started in college, actually my sophomore year. I've done multifamily and now self-storage. And actually, Brian, one of the other panelists, actually I'm onboarding one of my properties with his team to manage. So you'll realize in real estate that it's usually a pretty small circle and you know a lot of people. So my career path in real estate is probably a little bit different than most people go in the real estate field.
Well, and that's you might find that similar theme with somebody else up here.
Okay.
And because not only you, but I know Brian kind of had a similar path. Now, those that take the investment and development course, you can thank Jason when you get to some of the final cases. Him and a couple of the other students, I needed to make them difficult enough for them to be challenging. And so I changed those over the years a little bit. So Brian, I know family means a lot to you, and networking as well. If you wouldn't mind going into a couple of those, and how do you kind of do the work-life balance? And then I think, is it how many cups of coffee a year is your mantra?
Yeah, Tim's talking about, we encourage as we do business coaching and stuff to, and I was talking to Adam out in the foyer, that soft skill of networking. So 52 cups of coffee, I always say, will change your life. If you can book a cup of coffee each week, it'll cost you $1.50 if you drink black coffee. But if you go to one of Adam's Starbucks, it's $7.25 or whatever.
Just say $7 now.
Yeah. So for $60 a year, if you can commit yourself to, meeting somebody new for coffee, not wanting anything from them, just being a human being, it'll change your life for sure. Work-life balance is probably something I don't believe in. I think it's more an integration. I have 3 kids. I run 2 businesses. It was 2 of us in 2015, and it's 80 of us in 2022 and growing. So life changes, and you have to be passionate about what you do. And I have just viewed it as part of who I am. And so my kids are, sometimes they mow the lawn or at the office, or they hang out, and my dog's in the office. So it just depends on you as far as your work-life balance. I think ultimately there's really 3 things I could give advice on related to this. Number 1, you need to be self-accountable in life. You need to figure out, some of you are graduating in the next 8 months, you have to figure out how to be self-accountable to everything you should be accountable to, starting with yourself, and that everything that happens is your fault. And I didn't say Hurricane Ian was your fault, but that you have to have that mindset of that your life is your fault, and things that happen for everybody up here. We all have, it's tough. Nothing's easy, nothing's lucky. And so being self-accountable in so many ways to your health, right? The greatest gift you can give your children, your coworkers, your business is, so being accountable in that area. Number 2 is and this is great with the 52 cups or things like this, Tim says, I'm trying to help our students. Can you help by showing up? And it's really about that. How can you help people? And how many people can you help? And, so if you're self-accountable and you're just looking, your head's on a swivel, how can I help people today? In the 3 feet that you exist in, that's going to make a big difference. And then just having an immense unrealistic amount of gratitude in your life. I got a call from my business partner last night, and he lives in the path of Hurricane Ian. And he's like, yeah, here's what's going on down here. We're pretty scared tonight. They told us to fill our bathtub with water. I'm like, what? What does that even mean? Like, I don't even know what. So I'm pretty grateful this morning I'm not down there. But living your life, being accountable, head on a swivel, helping everybody you can with anything that they need help with, doesn't matter. And just deploying so much gratitude for what's around you in life and not dwelling on any of the stupid crap that you want to dwell on or the news wants you to dwell on or your friends or your family wants you to dwell on. And just being thankful for that, I think is what I could say about that.
Well, Christian, I know you're active in the community, and obviously you're building your career. So that's going to obviously take up a lot of your time. So how do you do that? How do you balance the two and find time for your personal time as well?
Yes, that's a very good point. I have this little mantra. I believe it's appropriate. At this stage in your life, if you don't have kids yet, you are unstoppable. So I mean, and you have your time is your time, and it's like it's different. You leave college and you still have the same 24 hours a day that you had in college, but they just feel so much shorter outside of college. But it's interesting. So yeah, I served on a board of directors and a few other executive positions. I guess that theme of my life really continued from Whitewater. I was an RA, I was in a fraternity, I was on a few boards, I was on the homecoming committee. I did a little bit of everything here. And it does take time. Me and my mom were actually talking last night, and she told me that someone asked Jeanette, how do you do it? And she just said, you just do it. You just don't complain. And you get the job done. So those sleepless nights that you might have in college, if you want to push yourself to the next level in your career or your business or even just self-accountability and working on yourself, they're not over. You're just kind of working towards your life instead of your degree. So I'd say, but work-life balance, that's something I'm still learning. I was very busy for 2.5 years, and because I'm kind of moving my career into a different area of real estate on the back end, I've had to leave some of those things. So it's about being realistic with yourself, learning to say no, which has been my problem for a little while, and just doing it. You can't complain.
I have that same thing about telling people no, so I understand. And Adam, I know you obviously are busy with your career and your business, and then now with your family. And so, how do you manage it all?
Yeah, so outside of my position at Colliers, we've got, I was telling Brian this earlier, I have a separate company that I'm partners with a friend that I met in college. He got out of college and started buying single family homes, and we invested with him 3 years ago. So in addition to my full-time job, we own 40 to 50 single family homes, and we're buying a large mixed use project in Wauwatosa, hopefully next month. So we do that. And then we just had our second child. So we have 2 kids. As Brian said, there's no real balance to anything. It's just you work as hard as humanly possible during the time that you're at work, which I really like spending time in the office. But then when I'm at home, I'm spending the time with my kids, and focusing on that. But a couple things that came up in what they said, a lot of the relationships that I have now, or the business that I'm doing now, is because I got a cup of coffee with somebody, or I started a face-to-face conversation. That's the majority of our really, really good clients. They hire me, or they hire our team because we're really good at what we do, but they also hire us because they like us. And I think with the pandemic and Zoom and everything that has gone on in the last 3-4 years, it's really shined a light on people's inability to connect. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, you're really going to see the people that have the skills to connect with other humans and provide, empathy is probably the biggest thing. I generally care about the people that I meet with. They know that I care about them. I care about their kids. I care about, what's happening in their lives. And as soon as they see that, there's a relationship formed there. And, as young college kids, you'll learn this, that your first job and second job, the relationships that you have with your bosses or the people that make decisions in your life, those are really important. And, when it comes to hiring and firing and getting promotions, they're always going to think about the people who, I remember Adam, he came to my kid's soccer game, or he did this or did all those things. So, the human interaction and relationships are really, really important. And I think you'll hear that across the board today.
Well, and I think one of the things that when you build that relationship with somebody, they trust you. And that's, so when you're going through with the deal, even if you have to meet via Zoom, but they trust you on the other end that it's going to work out, or what you say is actually going to happen.
Yeah, trust is a huge part of it, and it starts with an initial meeting. It starts with reaching out to people and breaking down barriers and taking them out to lunch and doing those things. But that's vital towards getting a deal done, or getting somebody to agree to something, or if a deal falls apart, working through those issues. And if you don't have that trust that you've hopefully cultivated over years and years, a lot of those things can fall apart.
No, very good. Jason, and you led with that you're basically doing 2 full-time jobs. So that doesn't, how do you balance it out? And oftentimes, talk about you're still early in your career. What kind of you see that building towards, or what are your goals?
Yes, I think the answer is twofold. And it was mentioned before. The way I look at it is everyone has 24 hours in their day, right? The best athletes on the world, or everyone in this meeting, have the same amount of time. It's really how you use it. So the whole work-life balance, I really don't believe in that. I think it's maximizing the time at work, with your friends, with your family, with your health, right? However you want to set that up. So with me working a full-time job, right, I can probably get an 8-hour workday done in maybe about 5 hours, right? Really just focusing my time there so that I can spend additional time working on my real estate path and also having personal time outside of that. So I think it's just really maximizing your time. I know it's really easy to be distracted by social media and notifications. And I'm sure by the time we're done with this conversation, my phone will be blown up with a bunch of different notifications, right? So if you put it down and focus, you can get a lot more done. So I think maximizing your 24 hours in the day. But also the other part that I found really important, especially in an entrepreneurial standpoint, is outsourcing. So if you look at, let's call it any real estate investment, right? You can manage the property yourself. So you can snowplow the driveway, you can mow the lawn, you can do the maintenance, you can do your taxes, you can be your attorney writing your lease, right? You can do it all yourself. That is an option. But if you're trying to scale and grow something, you really need to outsource it, outsource some items, or bring other people on your team. So that's what we've done this year. Again, we started investing in storage heavily this year. So essentially started with just myself and my partner, and we've hired 4 people on this year. Again, outsourcing the task where maybe someone else can do this task a lot better than I can, or it's administrative work where someone can handle many different tasks and open up more time on my plate for impactful items. So overall, my goal is to essentially build up a real estate portfolio passively through outsourcing a lot of the tasks that either are time consuming or transparency that I don't want to do, right? I find a lot of enjoyment in identifying a deal and underwriting it. And once I determine this deal makes sense for our investment strategy, it goes over to my partner and he runs it from there to closing, right? So we identified, what do I truly enjoy in real estate? And for me, it's the numbers, right? I'm a finance person at the end of the day. So outsourcing allowed me to still continue my 9 to 5, which I enjoy, but then only focus on the items I like in real estate, and then gives me that scalability because I'm not doing, the accounting, answering every single tenant phone call, things like that. So kind of building a process in place to, again, if I have 1 hour a day to spend on real estate, I'm maximizing my time within that 1 hour slot.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. There's not one path in real estate. Obviously, each of these individuals have had their own path, and even with that, Jason at one point was working towards a multifamily portfolio, and then decided to switch more into the self-storage because what he's saying, and he enjoys his first job. He enjoys being a salesperson. He enjoys that aspect of it. And then, so why don't you go into that decision that made you switch? And you did go down to Florida initially, and you'd wanted to go to Florida, and then you probably would have been in the path of the hurricane, and now you're not. So you're able to, and then you decide to come back. And what kind of led to that decision?
Yeah, so I guess on a real estate side, again, started in single family homes and then slowly moved to small multifamily apartments. And at one point we owned about 3 or 4 multifamily apartments, so about 30 to maybe 35 units total. And at this point, I was still really learning how to outsource management and just items that I didn't really enjoy doing. And in my position, I realized that there's a lot of moving components in apartments, right? You have tenants, you have people living there, you have elevators, you have roofs, you have appliances, you have yard, just a lot of moving components, right? People live there, so there's a lot to take care of. And looking at what I want to do with my career is I still want to be in software sales, but I want to be involved in real estate. So I kind of took a step back, like what is the simplest, and again, simple can mean different things for different people, but simplest asset that I can invest in to still get that real estate exposure. And we looked at a couple different asset classes. And when we looked at storage, we invest in storage that is non-climate controlled. So it's not these fancy buildings downtown and they're heated and cooled based on the seasons, but they're metal buildings. They're built with steel, tin roofs, and 2x4s. And people move in when they bring their stuff in, and they pretty much don't touch it until they leave. So it made me focus on maybe 30 different items in multifamily or apartments, down to about only 6 to maybe 10 items I needed to manage in self-storage. So that made me kind of change asset classes, because now I have 6 to 10 items to manage, and maybe I can outsource 4 to 8 of those and only have to manage kind of the 2 items I like. So in my perspective, right, trying to do this as passively as possible, storage made more sense for me based on what I'm looking to get out of real estate. So again, that end goal can mean a lot of different things to people. Some people flip houses, and some people want to be as passive as possible and never touch the property. So based on what I was looking to get out of being involved in real estate, that direction made the most sense for me.
Oh, I appreciate it. I just like how the thought process you went through during this whole process and figuring out what worked for you personally. And I think everyone throughout their career, they kind of make that at different points and stages and so forth. So I just thought it's really important. Now we'll switch a little bit to, so obviously all of you are going to be looking for internships and jobs and so forth. So when students are first coming out, and the more recent grads, I'll say, what did you experience that you wish you knew more of, or even looking in the job market, some tips and tricks and so forth? And then the more experienced individuals that are doing more of the hiring, I'll say, what are you looking for people that are kind of coming in? Brian?
Yeah, I mean, we've got one intern sitting here in the audience. We've relied on our internship program tremendously. We have 4 full-time staff now that were whitewater interns in our companies, and we're a small business. I mean, really, you say 80 people, it feels like a lot when you're signing paychecks and that kind of thing, but it's really small. And, the thing that you learn in a small business is that you can go to work downtown Milwaukee at Rockwell and, these other places, these Fortune 500 companies. And if you're really good, you're a hard worker, you got good grades, you made the right connections like Adam was talking about, you can go make quite a bit of money right out of school. But you start there. And so the other version of that is finding and aligning yourself with smaller businesses where maybe you give up some income on the front end, but you could be CFO at 29, So there's just different paths, and you got to pick your path and understand that money ain't it. So if you're focused on that, you just, redirect yourself now. There's so much more. And honestly, my oldest son, who's a very good student, he just was talking the other day. I had to bite my tongue, rip my face off almost. He's like, I don't think I'm going to college. And I was like, oh God, okay, that's fine. I think, that's okay. And so we had this conversation about, in my head, I'm like, what if we just go find these superstars somewhere? I don't know, whatever you're interested in. And you just say you're going to work for free. Well, I don't want to work for free. No, but here's why you do that, And for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, when you're 18, 19, 20, and you've got no obligations, as you're saying, your time is different than, maybe he can do that. So, my best advice is, so many people say what they say, the passion. You got to have passion. Mark Cuban, was asked, well, why do businesses fail? And he says, no brains and no effort. And it doesn't mean that you're stupid, right? It just means that you're not putting in the time, your passion to learn, as Jason was just sharing. He learned and was humble and self-aware enough to switch asset classes or to not become a full-time real estate person. He's just very, very self-aware. That's what he wants. And he's able to educate and educate and educate so he can pivot to where he wants to put in his effort. And, that, and as far as hiring, I can tell you, I've never looked at and checked anybody's degree, and that might be a fault. I barely read resumes. I want to get in the room and look at your eyeballs and have a conversation and know who you are. I want to hack you as a human being. Because we can teach you almost anything. We can't teach you to be a great person. That, you have that inside of you, and you need to have done that work before you sit in front of us. All the other stuff is just skills. I was an English major the third time, like I told you, right? The first 2 times I dropped out. The third time. Do you know why I'm an English major? I had zero passion for English because I sat in some building on this campus and I said, what's the fastest way out of here? And they said, calculating English. I'm like, okay, I'm an English major. Let's go, right? But I learned, and I'm thankful for that. And you're in a different seat and you have passions and this sort of thing. But just, lean into yourself as a human being, and all these companies can train you to do so many things.
Christian, how about when you first came out and kind of the skill set, and any tips that you can give them?
Yeah, definitely. It was fortunate to have my investments course and real estate principles class kind of on the latter half of my college career here, because everything was still pretty fresh in my mind when I was applying. And, our executive team asked me those questions like, hey, what are you capable of? Why should we hire you, basically? So definitely. So my point is, what you're learning is very applicable, so we can check that box. Okay, I know our professors say it a lot, but I'll give you that check mark. I will say that I have never had an accepted application, and I have a job right now, right? So Yeah, every single one of my roles so far has been through networking. I even applied to Colliers right when I graduated college, and I was denied like 3 times. Granted, I was applying to the large international corporation and not directly to Wisconsin. But yeah, I've never had an accepted application. I networked and I had meetings with people, and I had those coffees when I graduated with different real estate professionals, executives in Milwaukee. And you don't have, you're like, oh my, I don't have anyone in my family who works in real estate. Well, I didn't either. I'm the first one in my family to ever enter real estate or the finance world. But we have family friends who you can just ask, like, hey, can you set up a meeting with this person? Or do you know anyone who works in real estate? Have those meetings, build those connections, and it can very well lead to your next position. I mean, starting your career. And I'd say the one thing that I wish I would have known now that I have the job, yes, developing the skills happens after you get, into your role. But kind of going back to that self-awareness, self-accountability, in those first 2 years, everyone puts a lot of emphasis on those first 2 years out of college, right? Really use that time to, show your effort, show your skill, show your talent, learn how to work with people, because you're going to be working with people who you like and people who you don't like. Let's just keep it real. But you have to work with them, regardless. But going back to my point, work on, get rid of those little picadillos. I'll take that from Good Will Hunting. Get rid of those picadillos that you have about yourself, the negative ones, like, put the phone down. Like, I haven't used social media consistently in a long time now. Just, what those things are about you, but use those 2 years to refine yourself so that when you do apply for that manager role, you are prepared and you can serve your people under you, because that's the number one job as a manager, is to get the job done, yes, but to serve the people under you and help them.
Oh, thank you very much. Adam, how about you, either when you first came out or even now when you look to hire people?
Yeah, I'll say our company is definitely hiring, but I'm in the brokerage side, and our company has accounting, property management, facilities management, a number of different aspects. So I think between the 4 of us on the panel, I mean, real estate is a part of what we do, but there's 100 different things that you could do in real estate. And I would say, I didn't know that I wanted to be a commercial real estate broker on the investment sales side 17 years ago when I started. But getting started with a group, whether it's a company, large or small, and learning as much as you can, and then you can figure out where you want to go 2 or 3 years into it. Maybe switch jobs. Maybe you hate brokerage and you want to be on the property management side. Maybe you hate property management and you want to be on a different side. But getting started is the real key. You don't have to, I think there's this, and I'm not sure if people in the same room feel the same way, but there's this fallacy that, your first job out of college has to be your dream job or your passion, or, you're going to know everything about it, and you're not. I didn't. But that's the thing. Everyone wants to find like the perfect job that they're super passionate about. You're not. I mean, I wasn't super passionate about my first job out of college. I switched, and then I went to real estate a few years later. And just having your, eyes opened and learning as much as possible. So I'm not tooting the horn of Colliers, because I think our internship program is really, really good. But that's taken years to perfect. So like, we bring in interns, and they have to go to the property management side for a few weeks. They have to go to the brokerage side for a few weeks. They have to go to the accounting side. And I hope a lot of other companies do that, whether it's with us or someone else. You find a good program to do. And the goal is to give people as much exposure as possible so that you figure out what you like. Because I'll tell people, to their face, whether or not they're going to be a good broker or a property manager, you can kind of, people who typically are brokers are very type A personalities. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful in doing other types of things. But, they just might have interest in other departments, and they want to take on other things. So learning as much as you can. You don't have to come out of college and find your dream job. That's very rare.
I haven't really asked this, so I'll ask it now, and I'll go back to some of the other people later after I get Jason's answer. But why do you like brokerage?
Why do I like brokerage? My dad was fired. He worked for the telephone company for 25 years. He was fired after 25 years, and he had no idea what he was going to do. And at the age of, I think what I said, 40, 45 years old, he took a year off. He learned real estate. He got his real estate license, and he showed up to every soccer game, or he showed up to every golf match and every hockey game I ever played in. And I wanted to have that same thing for myself and eventually for my kids. So the reason why I got into brokerage is because I can dictate my entire schedule. I don't have a boss. Well, I do have a boss if I don't bring home any money. Our president of our company will be very angry with me, but there's no one telling me I have to come into the office. There's no schedule. I can take off Wednesdays. That's not why I do it. I don't do it because I don't want to work. I do it because I want to spend time with my friends and my family and do the things I want to do. And real estate brokerage allows me to do that. Now, I work very, very hard in the time when I do that, maybe sometimes at nights, weekends, whatever. But that's why I like brokerage.
No, everybody's passionate about what they do, and sometimes there's reasons in particular why you go into something. So that's why I just wanted to ask. But Jason, how about you? When you were first coming out, and kind of what you were looking for, and any tips that you can give people, like when you were looking, or if you've thought about that more?
Yeah, so I'll kind of go from both sides of what I did internally to kind of understand what I wanted to do, and then what we look for in other people as we expand our team. I think it's taking a really good time to self-reflect of the combination between what do you want to do and what are you good at, right? Obviously, everyone kind of has their dream job. They're like, are you actually good at that skill set? If you want to be an astronaut, like, are you good at what goes into that? If the answer is no, it's probably not your career, right? So with that being said, I kind of looked at my skill set as I was getting interested in real estate. I'm like, well, I'm like good at talking to people. Like I enjoy conversations, kind of call it sales, and I'm really good at numbers. Outside of my resume, I put all of that resume stuff to the side. I'm good at numbers and I'm good at talking to people. Like, how can I fit this into real estate? And going back to, I think, a comment that I think it was Brian made about working for someone for free to get experience. There was a house flipper in Madison, and I went to the local real estate meetings a lot, and I approached him like, hey, like I want to get involved. And I had a full-time job. I was employed out of school. I'm like, how do I get more involved in this? And we sat down and had a conversation, kind of asking questions about what I want to do and what I was good at. And after he kind of understood my skill set, getting back to good at numbers and kind of good at sales, talking to people, he was like, you'd be really good at acquisitions, right? We send out letters in the mail saying we want to buy your property. If they call in, you should answer that call. You're personable and you can understand the numbers to understand if this is a good deal or not. And what he made me realize is real estate and probably other industries as well too. Imagine the industry is like a bicycle rim, right? There's the hub in the middle and there's tons of different spokes going on that rim to make sure it's going round and round. And I think a lot of people think you need to be every single spoke in that rim to be successful, right? You need to be a broker, you need to be a property manager, you need to be an accountant, lawyer, salesperson, etc. In reality, you don't, right? So you need to find that one spoke that you're both good at and enjoy doing, and that's what's going to get you really far. So again, don't worry about the resume, don't worry about your GPA, but find the spoke that you enjoy in real estate or other ventures, because that's what's helped me get into real estate adventures. And actually that person that I work to for free, he's my partner now in the storage facility investments we do. So right, I found my spoke of where I'm good at. And when we look at candidates for our team, that's what we look at, right? Like, where do you enjoy working and what do you think you're going to be good at? Because we can teach you those skills to do it. I think passion shows a lot if someone's interested in a role or not, because if you're not passionate about it, it's probably not going to work out very well. So find the spoke that you enjoy and you're good at. I think you're going to get pretty far in real estate or other industries you go after.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I know we're coming up on our time here, so I'll just end with Christian here because I know he has a specific reason why he went into property management, right?
So yeah, I guess it's a culmination of a couple things. Yes, if you are in brokerage, you have some of the flexibility. I hope you didn't take from what Adam said that like he said, he doesn't work hard. They work a lot to get to be as successful as they are over at Colliers. But I chose property management because, I needed a paycheck. I had a lot of bills that were coming up right after school, excuse me. And so I needed that consistency. So it fit my person. And besides, the logistics of needing a consistent paycheck right out of school, it just fit my personality. I'm a pretty regimented guy. I like structure. I like lists, checking off those lists. And that is essentially what a property manager does to function and to, at the end of the day, have that distribution to the owner. But also property management, which I have come to realize now that I'm here, especially in commercial property management, it is a great entry into real estate because you get to deal with construction, you get to deal with brokerage, city permits, working with contractors. So there's just so many different things in property management. So I'd say if you want a role if you don't know what you want to do in real estate, maybe give out property management a shot. Specifically, working with a firm who can give you access to the various aspects of real estate.
No, good answer. Well, and I knew it fit your personality, and that because we had that conversation before. So, we're going to be ending the real estate panel for now. If you want to come up and talk to anyone, feel free afterward. You can talk to Jason on the computer if you'd like, and if you want anyone's contact information, just reach out to me. I have everyone's contact information. So, but if we could give everybody a round of applause. So, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedules to come.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming.